Hello everyone, my name is Ankit Jain. I welcome you all to my channel Tech Journey with Ankit. Today's video is another integration related video where we will start discussing now related to the OAuth. In this series, basically we will be discussing what is OAuth, what is OAuth 2.0, what all the different flows that are the part of OAuth 2.0, and we'll also see how we can implement this OAuth 2.0 flows practically inside the Salesforce as well. I hope you folks found this series helpful like the other series available on my channel related to the integrations as well. In case you folks didn't got a chance to check out, please check out the channel where you will get the different links related to the bulk API, platform event, change data capture, and many more integration topics. Now this series is specifically for the OAuth 2.0. So let's quickly go over the agenda. But before we go there, in case you folks like to have one-to-one connect with me, you guys can scan the QR code for the top mate. And as soon as you will scan the QR code, you will be landed up on this page where there will be two options. Either you can set up one-to-one call with me for having any kind of discussion with respect to the Salesforce, or you can also go and purchase the few digital products which are available on the top mat like the LWC notes. In case you folks have attended the bootcamp, you can go and purchase those notes along with the code that I have used in the bootcamp. Moreover, there are a few more guides here like the data cloud fundamentals, which talks about the concepts of the data cloud in detail. There's another guide related to the admin, which is updated as per the Agentforce release of the Salesforce, and the interview prep guide as well, for which I already got lots of love from many of you, which have the questions related to the different modules of the Salesforce, including the admin, Apex, LWC integration scenario-based question, as well as the LWC code scenario-based questions as well. So this guide will have not only have the questions, but also the detailed solutions for each and every question that I have covered in this guide. This guide you will get more than 350 plus questions on the integration, on the interview preparation topics. Moreover, in case you folks like to join the wider community, you can scan this QR code and also join the Telegram channel as well, where we do discuss the Salesforce queries in detail. Now, these are the different topics for discussion for today. I want to keep this video to a very basic one. We just want to understand in this video the different terminologies that we very frequently use with the OAuth, and then we will switch to understand what is OAuth 2.0, why there is a need for the OAuth 2.0, why we cannot go for the traditional way of authentication like the username and the password, why the enterprises prefer to use OAuth 2.0 over the traditional approach. So we go and try to understand all these concepts one by one in this video. So very first thing, we will try to understand what is consumer key and the consumer secret. So all this terminology will come into the picture, and you will see the practical implementation of it in our upcoming video, where you can relate what is consumer key, what is consumer secret. But in case you folks have already used the OAuth 2.0 in your project, definitely you have heard about the terms called the consumer key and the consumer secret. So let's try to understand this term. What is consumer key first? Consumer key, it's a unique identifier that is assigned to an application, right? With the help of which you can go and connect to the API. In the typical term, we refer the consumer key as the username of the application. Okay, typically the consumer key is something which is referred as the username of the application. Like the username in the Salesforce, it also a unique identifier, and which it is tied not to the user, although it acts as a username. But you have to remember that consumer key is something does not act as a user. It is something act as a unified identifier which is assigned to an application. Okay, so many times people do have a kind of confusion that consumer key do belongs to the user. Answer to this is no, it belongs to a application. Now the next thing that we do have here is the consumer secret. So what is the difference between the consumer key and the consumer secret? Consumer secret, it's more like a private key. As I said, consumer key, you can take an analogy of the username, right? But the consumer secret, you can take an analogy of the password of an application, right? Like the consumer key, it is also assigned to the application as well, but it's a private key that is used in conjunction with the consumer key. So consumer secret alone does not work. You have to use, whenever you have to use the consumer secret, you have to use the consumer secret key along with the consumer key only, and you can authorize the application access to it using the consumer key as well as the consumer secret. Moving to the next terminologies that we again very frequently use related to the access token. And I will give you one very simple example so that you will always remember what is access token. Okay, so let's here we will try to understand the three different terminologies. First, what is token? After that, what is access token? And then the third one, what is refresh token? And you will see the difference between each of them, because many times we use this word interchangeably, right? Somehow it is correct, but most of the time it goes wrong as well. So let's try to understand what is token. So token, it is nothing but a piece of data which contain the enough information to verify a user identity, right? It contains a piece of data with the help of which what you do, you just verify the user identity. And a simple analogy that you can remember, I hope all of you have watched the movies into the theater, right? If you go and book a movie ticket, let's say from Book My Show or from anywhere else, right? They generally give you a QR code. That QR code you go and scan onto the while entering into the theater. Again, that is not on the QR code. They are not writing down what is your username and the password, right? On the QR code, they are simply making the enough information so that your identity can be identified whenever you are entering into the theater. So token is exactly like the same. They do have the enough information just to identify the user's identity, so that if you are providing the correct token, right, they will allow you or authorize you to perform a certain action. So this is how we have understood the token. But now let's go and try to understand what is access token now. Access token is something which grants, and the word which is very important here, temporary authorization. Access token is something which grants a temporary authorization to access the resources. Again, coming to the same analogy of the movie ticket, right? Let's say you purchased a movie ticket from the Book My Show. Now, can you use that movie ticket lifelong whenever you are going to the theater? The answer to this is no. That movie ticket that you are purchasing, it does have a validity for a certain period. It can be minutes, it can be hours, but you cannot use that particular movie ticket for a lifelong. Same goes for the concept of the access token as well. Access token is something which provides the temporary authorization to access the resources. So whenever you have the access token, you cannot use the same access token again and again because it is short-lived. And whenever you have to go and perform any action on the third-party system, right, you have to always send the access token along with your resource request, because access token is your identity, right? Every time the request have to authorize before they are performing the operation, before they are performing the action. So every time you are sending the request, you have to go and send the access token. Now there is a concept of the bearer token, right? What does the bearer token means? Bearer token means anyone who has the token can use it to make the request. The concept of the bearer token is, if for example, let's say I have purchased a movie ticket on behalf of my brother, but I can give that movie ticket to my brother and he can go and watch the movie, right? So basically, at this moment, my brother is something who is acting like a bearer, who is having the access token so that he can go and make that API request. And that's why you have to be very careful while sharing the access token with anyone else. Because if that person have the access token, they can perform the actions on behalf of you. So if anyone has the access token who can use it to make the API request, that's why these types of tokens are referred as the bearer tokens. So we understood the token, we understood the access token. Now what is refresh token? Coming to the refresh token now, we discussed related to the access token that it is something which is short-lived, right? Whenever you are giving the access token, it have a very long life. Now imagine that you are building an enterprise application. Every time you cannot follow the complete steps so that you can go and send the request, then you get the access token, because we discussed that access token is kind of a short-lived. Right now, let's say the successful connection has been established between the two different orgs, and now you want to have that authorization going forward, right? Then what you will do, you will take the help of the refresh token. How the refresh token is different from the access token? Refresh token is something which is long-lived. It's a separate token which is basically used to obtain a new valid token. It's a separate token that is typically used to obtain a new valid token. Again, coming to the similar analogy of the movie ticket. For example, you have watched the movie by using the access token. Now the movie got over. Once the movie got over, you got a gift card. Okay, and what the Book My Show is mentioning, that now you can use that gift card in the next 3 months whenever you have to go and watch another movie. right? So this gift card is nothing but a refresh token, which is long lived. Like in this scenario, it is available for 3 months. Using that gift card, what you are doing, you are generating another token or another movie ticket. If you remember this analogy of the movie ticket, right? I hope the concept of the token, access token, and the refresh token will be with you for the lifetime. It's very simple. No need to confuse what is access token, what is refresh token, right? The only difference here is access token is something which is short-lived, refresh token is long-lived. With the help of refresh token, you can always go and generate a valid access token when the existing access token got expired, so that we can avoid the user to go and re-log in again and again. Right? Let's say if your refresh token is also expired, then definitely you have to follow the same process to attempt the re-login. But as I said, the expiration time of the refresh token is much longer as compared to the access token. Now, with this analogy, there is one more concept that we will understand with respect to the scope and the consent, and then we will move to the definition of the OAuth. Now, what is scope? Again, coming to the similar analogy of the movie ticket. Let's say you have purchased a movie ticket. Now, with that movie ticket, can you go and watch any movie ticket? Imagine that you are going to a theater and there are multiple screens there, right? You have purchased a movie ticket for the screen A. Can you go and watch the movie from any other screen? The answer to this is no. So basically what you have done while purchasing the movie ticket, you have defined the scope. Okay, I will go and watch the movie in the screen 1 by sitting at particular seat number. So same thing we have to do it in the OAuth 2.0 as well. Whenever you are requesting the access token, you have to correctly go and define what is the scope of that access token. If as a user, I do have that access token, what all different specific actions that I can perform on that application on behalf of that user. So in a layman language, the scopes are nothing but the bundles of permission. Scopes are nothing but a bundles of permission. If you don't have the appropriate scope, you cannot perform that action. All those things, the scope and everything, like in the Salesforce, we have to go and define in the connected app. Again, I will walk you through how to define the scopes, how to identify the scopes as well. Moving to the next term, that is the consent. Consent is basically, you might have already experienced it if you are using any Android application or the iPhone application. Whenever you go and install any app, they generally take your consent, whether you want to give the microphone access or the camera access to the application. Similar analogy is also available with the OAuth, right? For example, let's say, and this is something which developers have most of the times experienced. If you are authorizing your VS Code or any other ID with the Salesforce, they first take your consent. Whether do you want to provide the access to this particular editor or to particular ID or not, right? Consent is something with the help of which the system will allow the user to go and perform that specific operation. If the consent is not there, right, then that particular operation will be rejected. Consent is something where you go and define what kind of data that your application should access. For example, while installing the application, let's say I'm saying that this particular app should access only my microphone but should not access the camera. So this is where I am defining the consent. Similarly, in the OAuth 2.0 also, whenever any third-party system want to request the data, you have to go and provide the consent. And if the consent has been provided, then and then only actions or the data will be shared. So this is again very important term whenever you are working on the OAuth 2.0. Before I go to the OAuth 2.0, let's try to understand what is OAuth. Because directly jumping to the OAuth 2.0 as per me does not make any sense. If you don't understand what is OAuth, then we will try to understand what is OAuth 1.0, and then we will see what is OAuth 2.0. We'll go step by step. Okay, so what is OAuth? OAuth is very simple. It stands for the open authorization. It stands for the open authorization. It's a protocol. Protocol means nothing but the rules where you go and define the access delegation, where resource owners grant the access to the application to access their resources. And the good part here is you don't have to share your credential. For example, let's say I have to check the score from some third-party app, but I don't want to create my account on that third-party application. Let's say I am a cricket fan. I want to check the score on the cricket info related to the ongoing match, but I don't want to go and sign up on the cricket info because I does not trust that website that they will keep my username and the password secure. So what I will do, I will ask the cricket info to allow me in by considering my Gmail username and the password. So what I am doing, I am not sharing my username and the password with the Cricinfo. I am delegating the some another system to provide the temporary access so that I can go and watch the score. Similar kind of a concept whenever you have to go and access the delegation where the resource owners grant the third-party applications to access their resources without sharing their user credentials. So the key reason why we go for the OAuth here is we want to avoid sharing of the user credential. That is the whole reason we go for the OAuth. And I will take one scenario so that you will understand why you should not share your credentials every time. The user grants specific permissions for a limited time. In the OAuth, what we do, we always exchange the access token. And just now we discussed that whenever you go and exchange the access token, right, with the help of scopes also we discussed just now. I hope these terms now will make sense to you, access tokens and the scope. So the user grant the specific permission using the scope for a limited time. And that scope can be extended by using the access token. Now, what is the point of having the OAuth? Just now we discussed, it provides the granular access level. What it does, it provides the granular access level. It does not provide the complete access of the system. It provides the limited access of the system to a third party, so that we would prefer to share just the necessary data with them. We don't have to go and share everything with the third party system. In case you want to share the specific data, the specific resources with the third party system, then you will take the help of the OAuth. Right? Because we need some trusted intermediary that would grant the limited access. Just now we discussed the limited access can be granted with the help of the scope without revealing the user credential. This is just now we discussed. The main advantage of having the OAuth here is we should not have to discuss the user credential. So once the user is providing their consent, whatever the scopes has been designed, based on that scope, access token will be generated so that the permanent username and the password sharing will be avoided. So this is what OAuth. Key points to take from this slide here is why we use OAuth, because we don't want to share the username and the password credentials. I want to give the temporary access to the limited resources by providing my consent. I will go for the OAuth. Now, let's have one scenario to discuss step by step so that you will understand the importance of the OAuth. So the step number one here is assume that there is one application and my application name here is gallery. Okay, that application will store the photos of one person. Let's say that person here is Anna. Now, Anna, she have installed a beauty queen application on her mobile, which can help her to go and edit her photos, right? But as I said, all the photos are available in the My Gallery. For the beauty queen application to go and perform the edit, basically beauty queen application needs to access the photos which are available in the My Gallery. Now there are two ways we can handle this. Option number one, Anna can share the username and the password of her phone or of her complete application with the beauty queen, right? And access all the photos. But again, Anna is something which cannot trust the beauty queen app. She want only specific tasks to be done by the beauty queen. She don't want to share the access of the complete application to the beauty queen application. So what is the alternative approach that Anna will take? Anna is thinking, is there any better way I can avoid sharing my credential and only give the access of my specific gallery application to the beauty queen app? And the answer to this is yes. By using the OAuth, Anna can go and meet this typical requirement. How this will happen now? Let's try to understand this with the two flows. So first I am taking you to the flow of OAuth 1.0, and then I will take you to the flow of OAuth 2.0. Now you will understand the difference between what is the difference between the two different flows here. Now, there are three things that we do have. First one here is we do have the beauty queen app. Second thing, we do have the user Anna. And the third thing that we do have here is the My Gallery. My Gallery is something which is acting as a service provider. Anna, she is the user, and the Beauty Queen application wants to access the photos from the service provider, that is My Gallery. So what is the first thing that the Anna will do, because she have decided to use the OAuth now? So the very first thing, Anna will go and send the customer key, customer secret, as well as the callback URL. Okay, Anna wants to edit the photos from the Beauty Queen app. So Anna will send the request to the My Gallery with all these details: consumer key, consumer secret, as well as the callback URL. What the service provider will return? It will return you the request token, but it's a temporary request token. Again, it's not an access token. Okay, do remember the word. It's a request token that the third-party application is sending back to the consumer key. Okay, so what that consumer key will do, it will revert you back with the requested token and the callback URL. Callback URL means as soon as the authorization has been done, where the control should navigate, you will go and define that under the callback URL. So the request token along with the callback URL has been sent to the Anna to provide the consent. Okay, let's say Anna have provided the consent on the requested token, and as soon as the consent has been provided, the request token that has been sent now, that request token is approved. Upon the successful authentication, right, she have asked the approval to grant the permissions to the Beauty Queen application so that her temporary request will be approved. Now, what the Beauty Queen application will do in the case of OAuth 1.0, it will go and send the approved request token to the service provider. And this time, the service provider got the approved request token, so it will revert it back with the access token. And now using that access token, the consumer queen app can go and access the resources which are available on the service provider. Right? And in this whole flow, you guys can observe that nowhere Anna have to share her username and the password, because what is the alternative that she is using? Consumer key and the consumer secret, which is the username and the password. You can take the analogy of this particular application, but not the Anna's username and the password. Right, now this complete flow is referred as the OAuth 1.0, and why it is referred as OAuth 1.0, I will come back to this in a minute. But before that, let's try to understand the same thing I have to do it in the OAuth 2.0, how it can be drawn. So very first thing, what will happen now? Now in the OAuth 2.0, you can see that there is one additional entity, and the names has been also changed here. So here it is referred as the client. Previously, it was referred as the consumer, but now in the OAuth 2.0, it is referred as the client. In the previous flow, it was referred as the user, but here now it is referred as the resource owner. Okay. The third thing here is previously it has been referred as the service provider, but now it is referred as the resource server. So the terminologies got changed, right, with respect to the OAuth 1.0 and to the OAuth 2.0. Again, I will talk about this terminology in detail down the line, what all the different actors of the OAuth 2.0. But before we go there, there's one additional entity that has been introduced in the OAuth 2.0, which is referred as the authorization server. This piece was missing in the OAuth 1.0 flow, but this piece is available with the OAuth 2.0, that is the authorization server. Now, what is happened here is again the same flow. Anna, she wants to edit her photos which are stored in the gallery application. Therefore, Beauty Queen application wants to access the photos which are available in the gallery. Now, Beauty Queen will send the request, right? And this time, the Beauty Queen is something which is sending the authorization request first to the Anna, and her request has been granted by the Anna. Now, this is the one level of request that has been sent. Now, with the grant is coming up from the resource owner, we are sending the authorization grant request one more time, and this time authorization grant request is going to the authorization server. Right? So Anna authenticates the request. Now the request goes to the authorization server. That authorization server can be anything. It can be your Gmail, it can be LinkedIn. There are multiple applications which can act as an authorization server, which will provide the authorization to you. Okay. Now, as soon as the authorization request has been granted, let's say the access token and the request token has been shared back with the application. Okay. Now, what the Beauty Queen application will do, Beauty Queen application will share the access token to the resource server, and then it can go and access the protected resources. Instead, in addition to the access token, it's completely based on application to application. They can also provide the refresh token as well. But refresh token is always an optional. Access token is something which is always mandatory. And with the correct access token now, the protected resources can be accessed from the My Gallery application without sharing again the username and the password. So this is how the flow will look like whenever you go and design the OAuth 2.0. Now let's try to understand at the very high level what is the difference between the OAuth 2.0 and the OAuth 1.0. At a higher level, OAuth 2.0, it's a complete rewrite of the protocol. There have been major improvements that has been done related to the compatibility as well whenever the OAuth 2.0 flow has been designed. First difference here is with respect to the non-browser support. OAuth 1.0 was inefficient for applications without a web UI. So web UI was mandatory in the case of 1.0, but that is not the case. OAuth 2.0 introduced multiple authorization flow to support the different client types. And we'll talk about these authorization flows down the line, one after the other. This is the key topic that we have to learn, what all the different authorization flows supported by the OAuth 2.0. Next one here is the signing. OAuth 1.0 requires a complex signature to be generated and verified for the very API call. However, in the case of 2.0, this has been completely eliminated and it relies on the HTTPS for the more secure connection. Third difference here is the separation of role. Just now I have shown you in the case of OAuth 2.0, the roles have been very clearly defined, like the client, resource owner, resource server, and the authorization, which will make the separations of the roles clear in the which was not there specifically in the case of OAuth 1.0. Coming to the token management part, OAuth 1.0 access token could last for a year or more. And definitely, as the access token is something which is last for a year, there is a possibility of having the security risk. In the case of OAuth 2.0, tokens are something which are very short-lived. It can also include an expiration time for the improved security. Definitely, as we discussed, if you want to extend the short-lived token, you can take the help of the refresh token without requiring the user to go and re-authenticate again and again. So that kind of token management was not available in the 1.0, and that's why most of the enterprises, they are only using the OAuth 2.0 whenever they have to go and include the open authorization request. Now let's come to the definition of what is OAuth 2.0. OAuth 2.0, it's a modern security framework that allows one application to access information from another without sharing your password. We already discussed that, so I'm not repeating it one more time. Think of it as a way to give a third-party service a special key, which is nothing but an access token that grants them a limited specific access to your data. Only thing is, it is based on the modern security framework, which was lagging in the case of OAuth 1.0. These are the four actors basically which are available with the OAuth 2.0. First one here is the resource owner. Resource owner is the one who owns the data which is available in the resource server. Okay, and this is the one who is capable of providing the consent whether to access the data from the resource server or not. Resource server is something in which the data has been stored, from where you want to go and access your data. Client is something which will initiate the request that wants to access your data. That client can be a browser, it can be a mobile application, it can be anything that wants to access your data. Like in our example, it was a photo editor application. Authorization server, this is the main engine of the OAuth 2.0, which is responsible to create the access token. Okay, so these are the four key actors with respect to the OAuth 2.0. So very interchangeably, I'll be using these words in our upcoming videos also, that this is acting as a resource owner or the resource server. I hope you can recollect what is resource owner, who is owning the data, server, where the data is actually available, client who wants to access the data, and the auth server, which is providing the access token. Moving to the next point, what all the key benefits that the OAuth 2.0 is offering? First one here is login credentials. It is never shared with the third-party system, right? Access token only grants access to the specific permission that you have consent. For example, if you have consent out of 5 for only 2 things, then it will go and access token will only be made up in such a way it will provide the access of only these 2 resources out of 5. In the case of OAuth 2.0, you have a more control when to revoke the access token, right? And the good part about the access token here is it expires after a specific set of time. Okay, and OAuth 2.0 also support a concept of the refresh token as well, with the help of which you can allow the client to get a new access token without the re-authentication attempt, so that the end user will feel a seamless user experience. So this is what, folks, the OAuth is. I hope you folks got the understanding about the basic terminologies that we very frequently used in the OAuth, like the actors of the OAuth or the consumer key, consumer secret key, access token, refresh token. With this knowledge, in the upcoming videos, we will further deep dive into the OAuth and the OAuth flows as well. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you like this particular video or not, and what all different things that you want to learn with respect to the OAuth in the upcoming videos as well. Thank you. Have a good time.